A very warm welcome to my channel, that is Professor DC, and in this video we are going to understand Isaac Asimov's story, The Fun They Had, line by line with rich background, context and easy to understand explanation. I'll walk you through the entire story like a master storyteller in the classroom, ensuring you understand every word, every idea and every hidden meaning. Let us begin with line number 1. Margie even wrote about it that night in her diary. On the page headed 17th May 2157, she wrote, "Today, Tommy found a real book." Now friends, this is how the story begins, with a girl named Margie writing in her diary. The date is 17th May 2157, which is far into the future. Think about it, that's more than a century from now. She writes something very unusual. She says Tommy found a real book. Now this might seem normal to us, but in Margie's world, this is shocking. Books are no longer made of paper. Line number 2. It was a very old book. Margie's grandfather once said that when he was a little boy, his grandfather told him that there was a time when all stories were printed on paper. Now here the book is so rare and old that Margie had only heard of such a thing from her grandfather's grandfather. That means this kind of book hasn't been used in many generations. So in Margie's world, everything is digital. Books don't have pages. They are just seen on screens. Next line. They turned the pages, which were yellow and crinkly, and it was awfully funny to read words that stood still instead of moving the way they were supposed to on a screen, Now friends, the book had yellow and crinkly pages. This tells us that it's very old. Margie finds it strange that the words don't move. She is used to reading on screen where words change, maybe scroll or update. For her, static printed words feel odd. Next line. It says, and then when they turned back to the page before, it had the same words on it that it had when they read it the first time. Margie finds it funny that in a printed book, the words never change. In contrast, digital books in her world might be interactive or update automatically. This line shows just how distant printed books have become from the future she lives in. Line number 5. "Gee," said Tommy, "what a waste. When you are through with the book, you just throw it away, I guess. Our television screen must have had 1,000,000 books on it, and it's good for plenty more. I wouldn't throw it away." Tommy is surprised by the idea of a paper book being useless after one read. He thinks it's a waste of material. In his time, one screen can hold millions of books, like today's ebook or Kindle. He doesn't see why someone would use paper. This is a reflection of how efficient and technological his world is, but it also shows how disconnected it is from the feel of real books. Next line. "Same with mine," said Margie. She was 11 and hadn't seen many telebooks as Tommy had. He was 13. Now friends, Margie agrees. She's just 11 years old, but a bit younger than Tommy. She admits that Tommy has read more telebooks, which are electronic books in her world. This shows Tommy is a bit more mature or experienced, and Margie looks up to him. Next set of line. It says, she said, "Where did you find it?" "In my house," in double quotes. He pointed without looking because he was busy reading. "In the attic." Margie is curious about the origin of the book. Tommy found it in his attic, a dusty storage space under the roof, often used to store old things. Notice he doesn't even look up. That's how absorbed he is in the mysterious old book. And then the next set of lines says, "What's it about?" School. Margie is even more curious. She wants to know the subject of the book. And Tommy says something that shocks her. It's about school. Next line. Margie was scornful. School? What's there to write about school? I hate school. Margie's reaction is strong. She says she hates school. She finds it silly that someone would write a book about school. After all, in her world, school is boring, monotonous, and lonely. This sets the stage for a major contrast between old and future schools. Now, let's pause here for a second. What is the context of this story so far? The story is set in a futuristic world. Children do not go to school, they learn at home through machines. Paper books are a thing of a past. Tommy finds an old book about school, and Margie can't understand why that would even be interesting. But soon she'll discover a version of the school that's very different from hers. Now, let's go through the next line, that is line number 10. It says Margie always hated school, but now she hated it more than ever. Now, this tells us that the school. Margie's dislike for the school is not new. It's a constant feeling. But now something has happened that's made it even worse. What's the reason? Let's find out in the next line. It says the mechanical teacher had been giving her test after test in geography, and she had been doing worse and worse. So Margie's robotic teacher is pushing her hard, especially in geography, a subject that she's struggling with. Instead of helping her understand, it keeps giving her more and more tests. It's like being in a loop of failure, and that can make anyone hate learning. And then it goes ahead to say that until her mother had shaken her head sorrowfully and sent for the county inspector. So Margie's mother notices something wrong. Instead of comforting her or giving her a break, she calls the county inspector, a sort of mechanic or technician who fixes educational machines. This shows how dependent people have become on machines, even for the children's learning. And the next line. He was a round little man with a red face and a whole box of tools with dials and wires. Here comes the county inspector. He is described like a typical service engineer. He doesn't come with books or chalk. He comes with tools, wires, dials, which shows that this future teachers are treated more like machines than humans. Next line. He smiled at Margie and gave her an apple, then took the teacher apart. Now, friends, even though he's fixing a machine, he tries to be friendly and human. Giving an apple is a kind gesture, maybe a way to ease her stress, but the main job is mechanical. He disassembles the robotic teacher to check what's wrong. Next line. Margie had hoped he wouldn't know how to put it together again. So, this line is a little funny and sad as well. Margie wishes the robot couldn't be fixed. Maybe if it were broken forever, she'd get time off from school or even a new experience. And this shows how trapped she feels. Next line. But he knew how to fix it. But he knew how, all right. And after an hour or so, there was it again, large, black and ugly, with big screen on which all the lessons were shown. Yeah. So unfortunately for Margie, the inspector is very good at his job. The mechanical teacher is back, large, black and ugly. These are Margie's words, which show her frustration. It has a screen for showing lessons, not a human face, no expressions, no interactions. And then next line, it says that and the questions were asked. That wasn't so bad. The part Margie hated most was the slot where she had to put homework and test papers. The teacher machine asks questions just like a quiz application. But the worst part? The homework slot. Imagine you're doing your work and instead of giving it to a teacher, you put it into a machine. Cold, unfeeling, and automatic. Next line. She always had to write them out in punch code they made her learn when she was 6 years old. Yeah. So this was fascinating. Margie doesn't even write in normal language. She uses punch code, a kind of digital or computer like language. Think of binary or programming. She learned this from age 6, not to write creatively, but to communicate with machine. And what happens next? And the mechanical teacher calculated the marks in no time. So the robot is efficient. It grades immediately. But there is no feedback. There is no encouragement. No one who tells her, good job, well done, or try again. Just instant emotionless evaluation. The inspector had a smile after he was finished and patted Margie's head. Now, here the inspector tries to offer human comfort, a pat on the head, a smile. But Margie probably finds it empty because nothing really changes for her. Next line. He said to her mother, "It's not the little girl's fault, Mrs. Jones. I think the geography sector was geared a little too quick." So now we find out the real problem. The robot's teacher, what he mentions, the robot's teacher's geography program was too advanced, in double quotes, geared a little too quick. Margie wasn't dumb. The machine was just moving too fast. This shows the flaw of mechanical systems. They cannot adapt emotionally like human teachers can. Next line. Those things happen sometimes. Those things happen sometimes. I've slowed it up to an average 10-year level. Actually, the overall pattern of her progress is quite satisfactory. So he adjusts the robot to match her age, like changing a setting on a device. He also says she's doing fine overall. But again, this is based on data, not understanding her feelings or struggles. Next line. And he patted Margie's head again. Again, he tries to be kind, but Margie doesn't want kindness. She wants change. Next line. Margie was disappointed. She had been hoping they would take the teacher away altogether. Now, this one is powerful. This one line here is profound. Margie was not hoping for improvement. She wanted the robot gone. Maybe a new kind of learning, a break, something more human. Next line. They had once taken Tommy's teacher away for nearly a month because history sector had blanked out completely. Now, friends, this gives a clue. Machines do break down, and when they do, kids like Tommy get a month off. Margie hoped for the same, but sadly her teacher was fixed too fast. And here's the turning point. So she said to Tommy, "Why wouldn't anyone write about school? Why would anyone write about school?" Now, Margie is genuinely confused now. Why would someone choose to write about something so boring, frustrating, and cold? So, there, Tommy looks at her with a very superior eyes. And Tommy thinks he's smarter because he knows something Margie doesn't. This is typically, sibling-like behavior. When an older kid knows a cool fact and shows off, he feels proud and maybe even a little condescending. And there continues the next line. It says, "Because it's not our kind of school, stupid." This is old kind of school that they had hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Tommy explains that the book isn't about their current style of school, but about the old fashioned kind of school, the one that existed centuries ago. And yes, he calls her stupid, which isn't very kind, but again, it shows that playful and slightly competitive relationship. Moving on to the next line, it reads, he added loftily, pronouncing the words carefully, centuries ago. Now, loftily, friends, it means with pride or sense of superiority. Tommy is showing off that he knows the word centuries and how to say it. This moment adds humor, but it also shows how distant and foreign the concept of traditional school is to these kids. Next line, Margie was hurt. Tommy's tone and choice of words hurt her feelings. This shows Margie isn't just annoyed with the school, she's also sensitive and maybe even feeling left out from the things Tommy knows. Next line, well, I don't know what kind of schools they had all that time ago. Now, here Margie admits she doesn't know, but now she's curious. This is a turning point. Her mind is opening up. She wants to learn about different way of learning. A very important contrast is about to come. Next line, she reads the book over his shoulder for a while, then said, anyway, they had a teacher. Now she starts reading with him, proving she is interested. But she is still trying to make sense of it all. She notes something familiar. Even old schools had teachers. That surprises her. It's not completely different, right? Next line. Sure, they had a teacher, but it wasn't a regular teacher. It was a man. Now, Tommy drops a bombshell here. The teacher wasn't a machine, it was a human being. This is hard for Margie to believe because for her, a teacher is always mechanical and emotionless. So she inquires, she says, a man? How could a man be a teacher? Margie is shocked. She's grown up thinking only machines can teach. She's never imagined a person standing in front of the class and teaching. That concept feels almost unreal to her. Next line. Well, he just told the boys and girls things and gave them homework and asked them questions. Tommy gives a simple explanation of what a human teacher did. Basically, the same thing a machine does, but as a person. This makes the old school system feel strangely similar yet very different. Then comes the next line. A man isn't smart enough. Margie can't believe that a human being could be smarter than a computer. This shows how technologically dependent her world is. She trusts machines more than humans when it comes to knowledge. Now then comes the counter argument. Sure he is. My father knows as much as my teacher. Tommy defends human intelligence. He says his own father is smart, just like a robotic teacher. Now this is important. It shows that people still have knowledge and wisdom, even in a world full of machines. Next line. He knows almost as much. I bet you. Betcha means bet you. So Tommy admits that maybe the robot knows more, but not by much. This line helps the balance of the arguments. Machines are efficient, but humans are still capable. Next line. Margie wasn't prepared to dispute that. Margie doesn't argue back. She silently agrees. She knows her father is smart too. This moment shows her starting to question her assumptions about machines always being better. Next line. She said, I wouldn't want a strange man in my house to teach me. Now she's reacting based on fear or discomfort. Margie is used to being taught in her room, alone with a robot. The idea of a strange human being in her house makes her uncomfortable. Again, showing how isolated her society has become. And then comes Tommy. Tommy screamed with laughter. You don't know much, Margie. The teachers didn't live in the house. They had a special building and all the kids went there. So Tommy bursts out laughing. He finds Margie's idea really silly. He explains that in old times, teachers worked in schools and the kids went to them. This is a huge shift from how Margie learns from her bedroom. And then she asks, and all the kids learn the same thing? Margie is still trying to understand. She's surprised that everyone learns together, not alone like she does. She's starting to see the social aspect of the old school. And then answer comes from Tommy. He says sure if they were the same age. Tommy confirms that the classes were grouped by age and everyone learns the same subjects. This seems amazing and strange to Margie. Now, it's time for us to pause and reflect. At this point, Margie is learning about a world of learning she never knew existed. A world with classroom full of kids, teachers who smiled and spoke, laughter, noise, sharing, learning as a shared experience. She had never known it, and yet deep inside she starts to wish for it. Let's move on to the next line. I believe it's line number 43, and it says, Margie is speaking here. She says, but my mother says a teacher has to be adjusted to fit the mind of each boy and girl it teaches, and that each kid has to be taught differently. Margie repeats something her mother always tells her, that teacher should be customized for each child because every mind is different. This is what the robotic teachers are designed for. They change their setting to match the student's level. But this line also reflects how people in Margie's time value efficiency and personalization over human warmth. It sounds logical, but is it better? Line number 44. Just the same, they didn't do it that way then. If you don't like it, you don't have to read the book. Tommy shrugs off the argument. He insists that old schools weren't like that. They weren't personalized, but still worked well. And he's kind of annoyed. So he says, if you don't like it, stop reading. But deep down, Margie is actually hooked by this idea. So comes the next line. I didn't say I didn't like it, Margie said quickly. She wanted to read about those funny schools. Now friends, here comes the real twist. Margie jumps in. She says, I never said I didn't like it. She's curious. She finds these funny schools of the past strange but fascinating. It was the first sign of longing, of wishing things were different. Then comes the next line. They weren't even half finished when Margie's mother called. Margie, school! They are still reading the book when Margie's mom interrupts. It's time for her to go back to her mechanical school system. This interruption is important. It shows the contrast between what she's reading and what she's living. And Margie looked up. Not yet, Mama. Margie wants more time with the book. For the first time, she's interested in learning, but not through a screen. This shows a shift in her heart, from forced education to genuine curiosity. Line number 48. Now, said Mrs. Jones, and it's probably time for Tommy too. Now, this is a usual motherly behavior. Her mother is strict. She believes in fixed learning hours and she doesn't want Margie to delay. This shows how regimented the future system is. There is no room for natural exploration. Margie said to Tommy, can I read the book some more time with you after school? Margie doesn't want to let go of the story. She asks Tommy to let her read more later. This line is beautiful. It shows the idea of the old school is opening her mind and heart. And then comes line number 50. Maybe, he said nonchalantly. He walked away whistling, and the dusty old book tucked beneath his arm. Right? Tommy says maybe in a cool, casual way, like older kids often do. He walks away holding the book like treasure. That book isn't just paper anymore, it's a symbol of a better, more human way of learning. Next line. Margie went into the schoolroom. It was right next to her bedroom, and the mechanical teacher was on and waiting for her. Now, Margie returns to her daily routine. Her schoolroom is just a room next to her bedroom. No travel, no classmates, and her robot teacher is already waiting, lifeless, emotionless. Next line. So it says it was always at the same time every day except Saturday and Sunday because her mother said little girls learn better if they learn at regular hours. Now this tells us the education system in future is completely rigid. Same time every day, same routine. Now the belief that routine equals better learning. The belief is that if you have proper routine, you learn better. But does this allow for creativity, fun, and friendship? Next line. The screen was lit up and it said, today's arithmetic lesson is on the addition of proper fractions. Please insert yesterday's homework in the paper slot. Friends, back to robotic life. The teacher doesn't greet her, doesn't ask how she's feeling. It jumps into fractions and asks for homework. This feels cold and mechanical, a perfect contrast to the warm, lively school Margie just read about. Next line. Margie did so with a sigh. The sigh says everything. Margie is disappointed. She's back to her dull, lonely school. But now she knows there was once something better. Next line. She was thinking about the old schools they had when her grandfather's grandfather was a little boy. Even as she starts a robotic lesson, her mind drifts back. She's picturing the world from the book. The story has touched her. And then, next line. All the kids from the whole neighborhood came, laughing and shouting in the schoolyard, sitting together in the schoolroom, going home together at the end of the day. Now, this is such a warm and nostalgic image. Margie imagines kids playing together, learning together, and going home as a group. This isn't just learning, it's life, joy, companionship. And finally, we have the last line of paragraph number 10. It says, they learned the same things so they could help one another with the homework and talk about it. Now, friends, this is so important. In her world, Margie learns alone, but in olden days, kids helped each other, talked about their work, and learned as a team. This is something she's never experienced, but now she wishes she could. And next line, and the teachers were people. Now, Margie is now completely absorbed in this vision. She repeats this detail not as a fact but as a dream. Teachers were people, not machines. They cared, they laughed, and they understood. And here comes the closing line of this story. It says the mechanical teacher was flashing on the screen. When we add fractions 1 by 2 and 1 by 4, Margie was thinking about how kids must have loved in old days. She was thinking about the fun they had. That's the title of the chapter, isn't it? Now, the line that gives the story its title, that's the last closing line. Now, as a robot drones on about fractions, Margie's heart is somewhere else. She isn't focused on the lesson. She's thinking about those kids. The big playground with lush green grass and a lot of trees, and a canteen on the other side where students sit together and eat, the laughter, the friendship, and the gossips, and the good times, and eventually the fun they had. And we are here as readers. We feel the sadness and beauty of the thought itself. Now, friends, what is the real message of this chapter? I'm sure you would have understood each and every line. If not, ask me in the comment section and I will answer it. Now, the story is not just about books and machines, it's about the soul of education. It's about the difference between knowing things and experiencing things. Knowing things and experiencing joy. It's about how connection and community make learning meaningful. Isaac Asimov, through Margie, makes us ask, are we replacing human warmth with technological efficiency? Is school just about facts, or is it about feeling fun and friendship? Now, friends, if this story touched you or reminded you of your school days, hit that like button and share it with a friend. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories explained simply. This is Divyam, where learning feels human again. And this is your own channel, Professor DC. You take good care of yourself. Bye bye.